2, Scene 1 of Macbeth. The building background prior to Act 2 is kind of interesting because it might sound like a movie from 2005, V for Vendetta, if some of you have seen it. That is not necessarily a period piece, however, it does reference the gunpowder plot. And in reading this, some of the, being religious-based, trying to bring back Catholicism as the main thing. So, I mean, that whole story that I went into great detail on about Henry VIII and the upheaval of religion between him and then his daughter Mary and then everything else, you can see that people took some legitimate actions to try to, to fix it and rectify it. And so V for Vendetta is, premised on that in 1605. There is, I think I put a clip, or I think I edited down the movie into several clips and put that on my Moodle page. So if you wanted to take some time and look through that, I think I just cut up the stuff relevant to the gunpowder plot. So when they were reenacting it, I think I put that in there and that type of thing. So it's interesting because it's not like Independence Day in England, like our July 4th, but yet they have fireworks and they celebrate it, pretty religiously every year with a big fireworks display over the Thames, over the river. So it's of interest. So good. So that was of note, and I wanted to make sure you read that and we talked about it briefly. The literary element motif is highlighted on 337. A significant phrase, description, or image that is repeated throughout a literary work. I've mentioned this already a ton, and we're only one act into this. The motifs of supernaturals and the repetition of three and the witches and what they represent. We haven't had blood too much yet, but that will change, where blood is present a lot, either realistically or figuratively. And so we'll see that how it plays out. The term equivocation, deceptive testimony, that'll come about when we see the porter who has only one scene and one monologue, and that's it. But that's really the main, the only example of deceptive testimony that we really focus on. There's a couple other elements here and there, but that's the first one of substance. So Act 2, Scene 1. We are now inside the Castle of Inverness. We concluded Act 1 by saying, let's see, Act 2, Scene 1. We concluded Act 1 with, Macbeth kind of wussing out a little bit, and then Lady Macbeth got him going and said, here's the plan, here's what we're going to do. And he says, I'm resolved, let's do this, I will go, false face must hide what false heart doth know, was his last exit line. And so he is going to, they have the party. Everything transpires, they have the banquet, the festivities, everything has transpired between when we stopped and where we're starting now. And now it's nighttime, and a lot of people are in bed. Notice we see Banquo here talking to Fleance. Fleance is his son. It's very brief, and then Fleance goes, and Macbeth and Banquo finally have an opportunity to talk. Because remember, they said at a later time, we'll talk about the prophecies and such. And so look at the discussion back and forth. Are they being honest to each other? Try to answer that question as we go through this. On the right page at 339, this is Macbeth's monologue. So those of you who chose Macbeth, this is his soliloquy rather. He's getting ready to go and do the deed. He's not really wavering as much as he was before, but yet he's not sprinting to go and do it with all of this, jubilation and such. And so he's seeing this, metaphoric, imaginary dagger leading him towards the way. So it's a very, very famous monologue. So kind of work yourself through that, and feel free to use footnotes and such. And these scenes aren't very long. They're just 2 pages long. So don't get discouraged and stop paying attention. So Act 2, Scene 1. Scene 1. Banquo and Fleance start off. You can see how, nighttime, they're in the castle courtyard, the setup there. It's late at night, the torch, what time is it? They hear the clock, it rings, that type of thing. Where's it? Banquo, look at his line in the purple. He says, here, take my sword. There's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are all out. So in essence, it's a way of saying that there aren't any stars tonight. So there must be something that's happening. Something's happening tonight. It's kind of like if there's an old saying with sailors. If there was I can't remember exactly, if there was like a red sky, then there was something that happened last night. Or, yeah, there's something superstitious like that. And so here it's one of these little things. He goes, it's really dark out, especially if there's no moon or no stars. Oh, I wonder why things are being hidden, why the heavens are keeping somebody from seeing something. You know, that just a little line that just kind of adds a little bit of foreshadowing and mood to everything. And he said, go to bed. And so he leaves. And that's really, I think we see Fleance one other time, and it's really for about as long. But yet he's significant. Okay? Why is Fleance significant? He's his son. Remember, the prophecy was to Banquo was, you will get kings, you will have kings. Now, that makes us say, well, they didn't specifically say Fleance, but yet we can kind of infer that, hey, that's him. Because it could be some other children. Maybe some children Banquo hasn't had yet. Some offspring. Okay, maybe it's a lineage. Maybe it skips Fleance's generation. Who knows? They don't say exactly when it is, and they don't name it, so it's kind of tricky. But yet we should realize Fleance's heirs are pretty important. Okay, and so that Banquo's heirs are important, and Fleance is one of those heirs. And so that's why he comes on and goes away. So you go, oh, he does have a kid. That kid's probably important, and we will see that play out in the next couple scenes. So Banquo and Macbeth talk. Banquo's line, the king's abed. Everything was great today. Everything was fine. Banquo goes, all's well. I dreamed last night of the three weird sisters. To you they have showed some truth. Macbeth's response, I think not of them. Is he lying here? Of course he's lying. Every thought since the moment that happens has been this. All of their actions, the things he's getting ready to do on the next page is in result of what the witch sisters have said. But for him to come out and go, yeah, man, I've been thinking about that all night, all day. That's unbelievable, and I'm going to be king? That's crazy. He doesn't want to let on that, he's thinking about it, so he's trying to, false face must hide, right? And so that's what he's playing on here. But I mean, he's just flat out lying to Banquo here. I think not of them. Yet when we can entreat an hour to serve, so when we can find some time together that fits our schedule, we need to sit down and talk about this. The same thing you said earlier. Doesn't it seem like now would be a great time? I know it's late at night and all, but for Macbeth, he's a little busy because he's getting ready to go and do some stuff, some stabbing. Okay? And so his schedule's a little bit full. So they leave. Macbeth is left alone on stage. We can imagine the setting, the mood, the darkness, the no stars, the impending doom that's going to happen. He doesn't desire going to kill Duncan, but this is what's going to happen now. And I don't think blood freaks him out and murder freaks him out because, well, excuse me, not murder, but just death and taking a life, because we heard from the captain his actions on the field. And so he's one to take a life without much problem. However, the motivation to do so is completely different here. Okay? I don't think he thrills at doing it, but he knows this is my job and my duty. My wife came up with a plan, and now I have to do this in order for me to become king. But think, guys, is he going to be king? No. When Duncan dies, it's going to be Malcolm. That's what that big announcement was in that previous scene. Okay, so there's got to be something that's going to happen. Maybe he's thinking, I'll just take out one now, and then we'll deal with the other later. I don't know. But this is the speech on 339, what is this, number 4 monologue, I think? Does that sound right? Those of you that have number 4? This is the one that I had to memorize in high school, my senior year. And I totally put it off and forgot about it. And being a last name A, I have to go first a lot. You guys kind of know how that is. In the front, and then those in the back go last. But lucky for me, they took volunteers for about half the period. And so I was able to memorize. Within 25 minutes, I got probably 15 to 16 lines. And that was the day that I realized, okay, I can kind of do this. I understood it. I understood what he was saying. I was good at memorizing. I did theater stuff. But I was able to just kind of focus And as people were up there talking, I was able to kind of run through what I knew and then, add on a couple here and there. So I'm not proud of that because I don't think my grade was very good. But I was pretty impressed that I was able to throw down so much with so little time. So please learn from my mistake and don't do what I did. So actually learn it for yours. Is this a dagger which I see before me, this imaginary dagger? The handle towards my hand, come. Let me clutch thee, let me grab thee. And reach, I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling at the sight, or art thou but a dagger in mine? Are you fake? A false creation from the hypersensitive brain? You're still the same as this which now I draw. So you can imagine him pulling out his own sword and dagger. Now, is he going to use his sword and dagger? Is that part of the plan? No, they want to use the chamberlains, the guard stuff. But he's saying that this dagger that's leading him in all, spirit, memory, all these thoughts, imagination, it seems as real as this which now I draw, as this which I have in my hands. He goes on to all of this description and metaphors and allusions to, different gods and pale Hecates. Hecate, we'll talk about her later. She's in charge of the witches, so all this witchcraft stuff and the darkness that he has to do. The last couple lines there at the bottom, thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear thy very stones prate of my whereabouts. So you can imagine him creeping across the stage very slowly. And all of you at some point in your life, I'm sure, have had to sneak up and down the stairs or down the hallway for whatever reason, and you hit that creaky stair. Or there's that spot in the hallway that is creaky, so you kind of lunge over it a little bit and land on your toes like a cat, and all that stuff. It's similar here. He's not thinking about creaky stones. But yet he doesn't want to make any noise where people might hear that, hey, somebody's walking around. Then later on, somebody died. He killed him. Duncan's dead. And they're like, hey, somebody was walking around last night. And they can kind of figure it out. Okay, not necessarily it's Macbeth, but we don't want to leave any clues. So he's talking about, being very quiet. The last couple lines are really nice because the bell rings. And that's a clue from Lady Macbeth that, okay, it's clear now. Those guys are drunk and they're passed out, so it's clear for you to go. Okay, so a little ding, 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 kind of like a little kitty bell or a dinner bell. Not like a ding, dong, nothing big because that would be stupid because it would wake people up. But he goes, I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell. Macbeth exits. Now, these are a couple of those lines I tell you every once in a while as these scenes end with a real kind of poetic, license of words. False face must hide what false heart doth know, that type of thing. And here's one that hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell. So that's the starting gun going off. And Duncan, you're going to die here in a minute. You're either going to heaven or you're going to hell, and that bell signals it. And so he goes off to do the murder. And that's, we don't, like I said, we don't see a lot of the stuff happen on stage, and it's implied that that's going on. Now,